I'm Clémence Epinoux. I'm studying marine ecology and I have a master's degree from La Rochelle University in coastal ecology and environmental management. And now I'm doing a PhD degree at the University of Montpellier.
I'm Matthieu de Castelbajac. I'm also doing a PhD in computer science at the University of Montpellier. I'm focusing on building computer science tools to better enable marine ecology research. And before that, I graduated in image processing in Paris.
IDIL Mirror thesis is a PhD project that is divided into two PhD theses from two different scientific fields. So it's quite unique as a PhD project, but it's also really interesting because we are focusing on one single problematic, but with two different visions.
I would say the main point is to shed light on common thematics from two different perspectives, and practically speaking, we still work on our own projects, but we keep in touch on a regular basis.
So our research project focuses on defining the dynamics of the jellyfish in the Mediterranean Sea. But the jellyfish are not that much followed by the scientific communities, so we needed to aggregate some new data to be able to build their dynamics.
Out there's a lot of data coming from citizen science programs, but the issue is they're not really trustworthy enough to be used in ecological models. For the first part of my PhD, I focused on building some AI semi-automated way to validate these data along with the experts.
Yeah, and with this new data, we've been able to define their distribution across the Mediterranean Sea and to use them as indicators of the ecosystem health. They are impacting the two major economic sectors of the Mediterranean basin, which are the tourism activity and the fishing activity. During the fishing activity, the jellyfish can aggregate in the nets and leading to the destruction of the harvest and of the nets sometimes, and also being an issue for the security of the fishermen, of course.
The main idea is it can help researchers by either speeding up the research process or help them work at a broader scale, such as automating redundant tasks, such as species recognition. In any case, it can only help the researcher and not replace his work. For us, citizen science programs are a really valuable source of data, as we already mentioned, especially since in marine ecology it can be really hard or impossible to cover all the coasts all the time. I would also say that if for now citizen science is already and more used in scientific research, there's still a lot to do in the other way for researchers to communicate the results to all these passionate benevolents.
Personally, I work for quite long days, usually from 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And my main work focuses on working on my computer, analyzing data about jellyfish. But sometimes I also have the opportunity to do some teaching and also sometimes to see some real jellyfish during fieldworks.
I would say I have no such thing as a routine. What we do can be really varied, but quite inconsistent. All in all, there's a lot of reading, of communicating results with other researchers, a lot of teaching, of course.
We usually meet once a month where we can explain what we did for the past few days, and it's at this moment that we will adjust our research so that it can be understandable for the other part of the project, and we will also look for adjust the results so that they can be useful for the other students and plan together what we will do next for our routine.
Another form of collaboration is we can build a bridge between the two labs, and we organize already quite a few bigger scientific events, workshops, etc., involving experts from the two labs.
I think that research in ecology and in computer science is sometimes built a bit different. So that leads to adjustments in the way we have to explain our results to each other. And also it can lead sometimes to some misunderstanding. So it's sometimes quite challenging to work with some results from a totally other point of view that we are used to.
Yeah, but overall I would say it's much more a strength than it is a weakness, especially since working in a narrow field of research often makes you lose the big picture, and working together we make sure our collective work speaks to a broader audience. I hope experts can ask new questions about jellyfish. For instance, where did they come from?
Yeah, we still don't know much about the jellyfish ecology, so I think that our research will really help to shed light on their dynamics and hopefully be useful because of the issues that the jellyfish blooms can cause in the Mediterranean Sea. So yeah, I think that our results will be quite useful for the Mediterranean ecosystems. At the beginning of my PhD, I wasn't thinking much about working with jellyfish after completing it. But now I'm learning every day to love them a bit more. And I'm thinking of doing some research in the jellyfish field. So I'm thinking of a postdoc position, maybe abroad. I think I would like to travel a bit after my PhD. And for a more distant future, I think I would like to go into teaching because I quite enjoyed my first experiences as a teacher, but I'm not sure yet.
I need two things in my future career. The first one is the freedom to explore ideas, and the second one is to be able to do some knowledge transfer, whether through teaching or training or scientific communication. So even though a PhD can be quite solitary, especially during the writing process, ultimately research is a collective process. So if I had an advice to put out there, it would be to speak to as many people as you can. Never hesitate to reach out for authors of papers you're interested in, or talk to people at meetings and conferences.
Yeah, and I think the interdisciplinary aspect is also really important because in today's situation, we really should put all our results in a transdisciplinary context. So I think that the art science should rely on social science and economical science to put their results into the real world, if I can say so. And on the opposite, the social and economical science would benefit at working with art science to build tomorrow's world.